Welcome back, folks, to another episode of the Serious Angler Podcast, Seriously Western Edition. Folks, we are talking Western bass fishing. I have missed some episodes here recently. Bailey has, of course, been holding down the fort, which has been great, and he is actually traveling right now. So we have some big news out of the West on today's show, but that is brought to you by our friends over at Amped Outdoors. Folks, if you're in the market for lithium batteries, they change your world. If you haven't done it yet, it is a worthwhile investment. I 100% mean that. And Ant Outdoors makes some great products that are priced reasonably well and stand behind with a warranty standpoint. So check them out and check out our links in the description below to follow up with that. But today's show is a great one. Steve Jenkins comes on. He just caught an absolute mega mega largemouth in Arizona. 16. My gosh, I should probably know exactly what I'm talking about when I pull something like this up. On the tournament scale, it weighed 16.57 pounds on a tournament scale. So, uh, incredible weight, mega fish, summertime, Arizona. We get into Arizona as a fishery and the fisheries around that zone. I mean, we are talking some really big fish being caught there right now. This is a this is a you know would be a state record breaking. There may still be something there, but he released this fish. We'll get into all the details with that. But check out the show, listen in, hear how he caught the fish. Very humble guy that breaks down all the details of how it goes down in Arizona in the summertime. So follow along. All righty, folks. And now we are joined by Mr. Steve Jenkins out of Arizona. Steve, how are you today?
Very good, sir. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Good. And I understand that you had a derby last night. How'd that go?
Not so good. The fish didn't
Shoot,
cooperate for us, and it's pretty windy, so didn't work out so well. But that's how it goes.
got it. Was it on Roosevelt as well, or where was it?
No, it was Roosevelt. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Now is that your home lake?
It's not the closest lake to my house. I actually have three others closer, but that one gets a lot of tournaments because the fishing is so well, and it's a large lake where it can handle big tournaments.
Yeah. So are you in the Phoenix area? I've never been on Roosevelt. All my Arizona fishing has been tournaments on kind of the Colorado River chain, right? Havasu, Mojave, that side of things.
Right.
But I've never spent any time, on the other side of the state. I love Arizona. I love kind of the mountain Arizona stuff just outside of Phoenix, and I've always wanted to fish Roosevelt and never have. But is that like a decent hotbed for tournaments for the Phoenix area? What's kind of your take overall?
Yeah, no, I agree. Roosevelt probably sees more tournaments than any lake out here anyway. So we have Roosevelt, then Apache Lake is below that, then Canyon Lake below that dam, and then Saguaro Lake below that dam. And
Okay.
all four of those lakes are phenomenal. But Roosevelt will definitely handle the tournaments better because it's such a big lake. You're not tripping over each other like you are on some of the other lakes. But there's almost a tournament every week there, almost year round. I mean, just tons and tons of tournaments there. So, but it holds up. I mean, you rarely go in there and not catch a limit. I think maybe one time that I can think of all 20 years of fishing there to not get a limit.
Wow.
So
So
yeah,
cool.
phenomenal. And they're just
That's great. So, Steve, tell us a little bit about your background, what you do. Seems like you're tournament angler in that zone, for sure. But give us a little history for your bass fishing. Who got you into bass fishing, and give us some background there.
I lived out here when I was a kid. I kind of moved around a bunch, but when I was a kid, probably I would say maybe seventh grade, we went to Canyon Lake and went out there and I caught my first bass on a little purple worm Texas rig. It was about an 18-inch bass. I never caught a bass before, only had caught in trout in Colorado and whatnot. And that was my first bass, and it was fun. It kind of got me hooked. And then when I got old enough to buy my own bass boat, I got married and moved to Colorado, and my brother-in-law that lived down here was selling his champion bass boat. And I wanted it. I liked it. I'd been on it, and I drove down here and bought it from him. Took it back to Colorado and fished bass up there and some lakes. And then eventually a few years later, moved back down here and started fishing down here, a little more serious with bass. Because I mean, I actually moved down here just to go bass fishing. I had some family, but that was a lot of the reason why I moved back. Just the lakes. I mean, I have two lakes within 30 minutes of my house. Saguaro and Canyon are just phenomenal. I mean, you can get out of work and run to the lake and fish for 3 or 4 hours and just catch a big bag. Last year, after work, me and my nephew, who works with me, just ran up to Saguaro Lake for 2 hours, and our five best went 27 pounds. So it's a phenomenal area to live just for fishing.
So what's the town that you actually live in there?
I live in Mesa,
Okay.
Arizona, but it's like right between Canyon and Saguaro. I go west, I go to Saguaro. I go east, I go to Canyon. And Roosevelt's about an hour and a half east of my house as well. So they're all pretty close.
Yeah, got it. Okay. That's and that's I'm always looking for hotbeds like this. So background as well, two things there. I've always noticed there's so many champions when you get down into Arizona, Southern California.
Yeah,
Just there must have been a dealer that went through this place in the 80s and 90s like crazy because there's so many that are in
yeah,
great condition. But
yeah.
I grew up in Colorado.
Oh wow.
And so my whole bass fishing career started there. But fished Pueblo and
Yeah, that's where I
um,
used to fish. That lake was about an hour from. I lived in Colorado Springs, and that's where I used to go fish
okay.
the smallmouth and the wipers and whatnot. But yeah, the bass is what I like. So
Yeah, how cool is that? Okay, so that was, like, where I really cut my teeth.
wow,
So from Pueblo, all the way then would go to, obviously out to Kansas, Nebraska, go
wow,
up north, and then kinda started fishing a little bit more seriously, fishing the Toyota Series and Bassmaster Opens and traveling east and fished through college that way, and
wow.
then I kinda worked my way back west, and now I'm fishing all the Super 60 and the Western kinda tournaments,
Hmm,
in California, Arizona,
right.
up here in Oregon. But that's really cool. I love Pueblo Reservoir. It's still one of my favorite places. I mean, small fish, but I loved how diverse it was. I
Yeah,
loved how you could catch smallmouth,
yeah,
spots, largemouth. For how small it was, I thought it fished really big for a tournament lake. Like
yeah,
it ate up boats pretty well.
yeah.
Um, and the desert, I love desert fisheries like that. And so it just really aligned with a lot of the success that I've had in Western tournaments. I've drawn back somewhat to Pueblo with the desert fishery, clear water. I don't know if you've been there recently,
Yeah,
but
about 2 years ago.
I probably haven't. Okay, it's cleared up a lot. There's a lot of grass in there now,
Yeah. Yeah, it was really low
and
from
it's
what I remember it when I lived there, but we still went out. I sold my Ranger bass boat that I had to my brother who lives in the Springs, and we took it out when I went up there and just fished around. But it was nice just to be back on that lake again. It was fun. It was in the winter, and we still
who's your
caught fish.
brother?
Lee Jenkins. He
Okay,
fishes maybe once a month. He's nothing, no, not really into fishing as much as I am, but he loves the boat and loves fishing when he can get out.
great.
So
Wow, dude, this is gonna put a new bucket list little area for me. I'm always like, I'm really happy to be in Boise, Idaho. It gives me a good central location for some of these bigger Western tournaments. But I'm always, I've always loved would thought maybe later in life I'd love to have a second home down either on Havasu or somewhere down on the Colorado River chain. But
right,
this other side is interesting to me too.
yeah,
The other side of Arizona.
the fishing's phenomenal over here. I mean, I imagine for the amount of publicity this has gotten, it's going to be a lot busier now. I'm thinking, but the fishing on all these lakes is just it's amazing. It really is. I mean, every day you're looking online, and I was just looking a little bit ago, and the guys are getting their personal best. I mean, every day somebody's getting their personal best out of Saguaro. It's crazy.
So and that's what I was, I mean, looking at this, the previous state record, right? The current state record, I should
You're
say,
right.
is out of Canyon Lake, which
Right.
is looks like it's just south and part of the same chain here.
Right.
And then you're talking Sororo. I would assume it's on the same
It is.
chain.
Yeah, just below the dam, you get
Okay.
to the next lake. Right.
So what makes these fisheries so special in this zone? I mean, obviously you've got a great climate. I mean, we're talking you're not far from the West Texas, right, of the world and that kind of similar situation. But what's the forage base? I mean, what is making these places so special?
Their water temperature stays pretty warm here. These fish, they eat and grow year round. They don't, we fish them year round. You can go out there 365 days a year and catch these fish. They're always active. They're always eating. And it seems like recently I don't know, so a few years ago, we seem to see a lot of these, I think they're called gizzard shad, if I'm correct, but they get big. And I've caught them, over a pound, and the bass, they're in all these lakes now. And you go out there, I've got live scope, and you get out there on the live scope, and there's just millions of these fish in these lakes, and the bass are just gorging on them, and they just get big quick. I mean, we've had two golden algae kills in a Saguaro Canyon and Apache in the last 15 years where it literally wiped them out, and they just come back.
All the fish.
Yeah, I mean, the first time at Saguaro, you couldn't catch a fish for months and months and months. We had a tournament with probably 40 boats, and not one single fish was weighed in at Saguaro. And then, but they just come back quick. But for some reason, Roosevelt never has gotten that. But right now, it's been a few years since we've had it, and the fish are it's phenomenal. You don't catch the numbers you used to at Canyon and Saguaro. I mean, you could go up there and catch 50 bass a night, in 4 hours of fishing, and now you might only catch like 10 or 15, maybe 20 on a good night, I guess. But the size is just phenomenal.
Wow. So the gizzard shad, were they always there, or do you feel like this is a relatively new thing?
I don't think they were there 10 years ago, and I don't know what breed or brand or how they got there. They weren't there. I mean, it's a slimy, nasty fish. We've caught one or two,
Yeah.
on a crankbait, and man, I don't ever remember seeing them on there. And with live scope, obviously see more than what you ever saw with sonar. But man, they are literally every end of that lake. No matter where you go or what you do, they're there everywhere. So there's just tons of
Those
forage.
those those big gizzards grow big bass, right? We know that
They
from all
do.
over the country.
They do
They grow
absolutely.
some really, really big bass. It's a
Yeah.
great protein source.
Yeah.
They are nasty,
They
but
are
they're
cool.
fun because you get to throw big baits, right? Like you're
Yeah.
talking big crankbaits. You could go throw big glide baits, big spoons,
Yeah.
and make those fish eat
Yeah.
and react to some of the big
Yeah.
stuff.
It's
But
changed the way
but
they fish, the way Roosevelt fishes. I mean, you hardly ever used to see so many guys throw those big baits like that, but the guys that are winning most of those tournaments, that's what they're doing. So,
okay, are throwing the big stuff.
yeah, and it just
But in this case, you caught a giant
yeah,
throwing the small stuff.
right. Because I'm not so good. I'm like I said, I'm older. My shoulders hurt. I'm a mechanic for a living. I mean, it hurts me to do that as much as I need to do to win those tournaments. So I just do what I'm comfortable with and do what I like to do. Sometimes it pans out and sometimes it don't.
Man, I am 29 years old, and I am not even kidding you. I throw big baits quite a bit,
Hmm.
and my left elbow particularly has, especially this season, I've been throwing a lot of big baits, but I'm like, I mean, I've been fishing my whole life, doing this, often and competitively, and I have like started seeing a friend that's a PT like with my elbow. Like I am there's some serious long-term effects from throwing
Absolutely.
those big baits.
Yeah.
You're not kidding.
I kind of got like tennis elbow, I guess. I used to have a brace and all that, and I finally figured I was like, I got to work, and this is a weekend thing for me. It's not a job, a career. I don't want any of that. I had to kind of quit doing that just so I could work the next day.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Man. Well, let's transition here into man, this fish. So I guess walk me through the series that you're fishing, the tournament day, how it's kind of unfolding, and give us just a story of the breakdown of how it all kind of happened.
Well, like I said, there's a lot of tournaments out there, and Roosevelt's a fun lake. So if there's a night tournament, we'll fish them a day tournament. Almost not doesn't matter who it is, but these guys that run that tournament, I forget which one it even was, but I know Lyle Danhauser is the one that was the tournament director, and it's run out of a tackle shop in Chandler. And anyway, so the that was the second one they did there that summer. They bounced around a bunch of different lakes, and some of the other lakes I can't get to or whatnot is easy. But so that lake we went out there, and the tournament started at 5 a.m. pretty much first light. We took off, and we fished till noon. It gets too hot to fish past noon, and they're real big on here on
Because of
keeping your
fish
bass
care,
alive and
or
not what's yeah, we need to the
gotcha.
the game and fish department, they track our kills, like how many fish die, and they tell us that if we have too many fish die, they won't let us do permits. So really big in the summertime to try to keep the fish alive. So at any rate, they'll end the tournament at noon, and for us too as well, because we get hot out there too. But anyway, so this particular day, it started at 5, got over at noon. We took off, fishing, got to my first spot, and my buddy just fished this spot that I wanted to go to. It's a hump out on the lake, and he weighed in 29 pounds a week before on this hump, and we went over there, and there was a boat sitting there already. So we went to my second spot and fished there for a while, and caught a few fish, but nothing in size that we needed to do. So then we was going to go to a third spot, and I'm cruising across the lake, and the water level's been changing a lot on this lake. It was full for the past few years, but it's dropping fast because we haven't had any rain. And
Mhm.
this lake does that, and a lot of the spots that I've had marked for years and years have been really unfishable because the water's been so deep. So I was cruising past this spot, and I thought, man, I haven't fished there in a long time. I'm gonna pull over there and check it real quick because we're kind of on the way. And we pulled in there and dropped the trolling motor, and I've got a couple of spots marked down there, and it's about a 30-foot deep. It's a big flat, and it drops off real deep. And then there's a little bitty channel kind of working up this flat that comes out of that deep. And on each side of that channel, there's a couple blocks down. I'm not sure what they are, but it looked like big cement blocks, and the marina's nearby. So anyway, we stop in there, and I look down there, drop the trolling motor down, and look at the live scope, and I tell my partner, Mike Selvage, I said, man, there's some fish down there. This might be a good spot. So I think first cast, I just dropped down there. I was sitting right on top of this spot. I just dropped straight down there with the drop shot, because that's what I've been catching. A couple earlier already in the morning was on the drop shot, and it was deep. And I just wanted to. I think the first drop I got a fish. It was only like a 2 pounder or whatever, but reeled them in and kept fishing. And we were fishing for about 15, 20 minutes, and we were catching them. We were both here and there catching some fish. So then I dropped down there again, and I normally keep an eye on my line and retie pretty regularly on that 7 pound line, and I didn't check it, and I dropped down there again and set the hook and broke off, and I was like, crap,
Oh,
kind of a little irritated. I don't hate doing that in the tournament, so I retied and everything real quick, and dropped back down there, and I didn't just kind of fishing, and I just got heavy. I didn't feel a bite, didn't feel anything. Um, Set the hook because I hadn't been getting snagged there. There's rocks down there, but I really wasn't getting snagged at all. So I set the hook, and that was the fish. It took off. My buddy in the back, Mike, he heard my reel zinging, and he just reeled up real quick, threw his pole on the ground, and grabbed the net. And that fish, I don't know how long it went. It's just kind of a blur, but took off, and we were wind was blowing a little bit, and so we were literally facing the east, and that we're directly looking into the sun. And that fish jumped, I don't know, 40 or 50 feet out in front of the boat, right in the sun, and we couldn't see it exactly how big it was because we were almost blind, but you could see the silhouette and the splash. And my buddy said a few cuss words and like, holy, that's a 10 pounder. And we didn't see it that well, and it just took off and dove down deep and took the right. And I know a 7 pound line, I've caught some bigger fish before. I chase them. So I turned the trolling motor up, and I just took off chasing this fish, and it went to the right. I don't know how long, but it took off to the right. So I took off after it, and we got on top of it again, and it kind of went left and right and kind of, was under the boat, and kind of, we were doing the whole little dance where we're chasing this fish around the boat. And then finally it started coming up, and I wasn't pulling the fish up. I mean, I had tension on it, but it was coming up by itself. And I told him, I said, man, here it comes again. It's coming, get ready. So I'm reeling, and you see my leader, and I'm like, dude, get ready, here it comes. And as soon as that fish broke the surface and jumped, he was standing right there with the net and just scooped it in because it wasn't done, but it just happened to come up where we were because we were on top of it. So we scooped it in the net. We're kind of happy, but there's a lot of boats out there, so I don't get real excited when that happens. If you make too much commotion, everybody watches and looks and sees, and I didn't want that. So I'm pretty mellow. I just kind of calmed down. I said, all right, put it in the bottom of the boat. We put it down in there, grab the fish, and he's just sitting there like, holy crap, dude. And I'm like, no, whatever. It's not that big. I mean, I've never caught a fish that big. I didn't know how big that fish was, so I literally just unhooked the fish, and we knew it was big. And I got a Phoenix boat, 2020 Phoenix boat, and it's got nice live wells in it. We always only use one side of the live wells. There's two, two different pumps and all that. So I just turned on the other live well, filled it up, threw the fish in there, and that fish came from 30 foot deep. So I threw it in there and floated, and it had some water in there, and it was kind of floating on its side. So I pull it out, fizz it, put it back in there, check on it, and visit. But we never weighed the fish. I just wanted to get it in the live well and keep fishing in case there's any more around there. And that actually ended up being really the only good fish we caught that day. Everything else we caught was between 2 and 3 pounds. We caught a bunch, but just we couldn't find any big ones. And I didn't move around as much as I would have normally because I really didn't want to hurt that fish. And I didn't want to bang it around in there. I don't have any of the foam that those guys put in there. And after about an hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, I was concerned with the fish. I turned the live wells on and just let it run. I never let them shut off. I just turned it on and let it run constant because that water's warm out here right now. And I ran over to the marina, which was pretty close by, to get some ice, and they were actually closed. But another guy that was on the dock said, "Oh, I got some ice you can have." So he drug us over to his boat and gave us some ice, and we threw in there, just trying to keep the fish alive. And I checked on it, probably every half hour, make sure she was looking good and swimming and all that. And I called the tournament director and I said, "Hey, I got this really big fish." I said, "Is there any way, chance to come away in this fish in so we can, release it? I don't want it to die." And he's like, "No," he's like, "Steve, the rules are we got to just keep the fish in the boat and just keep it alive." So I was like, "All right," but I didn't know how big it was. I really thought, I mean, if I'd have guessed, I'd figured 12 to 13 pounds. My biggest fish is I got two 10 pounders and a couple 9 pounders, and it's just been a long time since they didn't caught one that big. So I'm like, all right, Lyle, we'll keep going and see what happens. But so we just did. We just kept it in there all day, and I was gonna. He told me you could come weigh in at 11 if you want, which was still 4 hours away. And I said, all right, but I just kept an eye on it, and it was doing good. I was like, you know what, we'll just keep fishing and try to get something big, and it just never happened. But when we were done, the tournament was over. My weigh-in time was 12:15. We pulled up to the ramp out there, and we all let off our boat driver, or truck drivers, and they all get out and go get the truck. And my good buddy was out there fishing the tournament too. His name's TJ Roach, and his partner's Aaron Reese, and those guys win a lot of tournaments on Roosevelt. And they're the guys like you that are throwing the big baits, the crankbaits, the spoons. I mean, those guys don't throw anything small hardly, but they were out there. Or TJ was out there on the boat, and he asked how we did, and I said, I got one good one and a bunch of little ones. Like, man, we didn't do good either. He had one decent one and a bunch of little ones. I said, let me show you what I got. And I just kind of pulled out a live well. And this guy, he's hard to you know he catches a lot of big fish. It's not he's hard to impress, really, I guess. But he's a nice guy. Don't get me wrong. But so I pulled this fish out of there, and he's like, "Holy crap, Steve!" He's like, he just, I mean, I don't know. It shocked me when he was doing that. I'm like, man, maybe this fish is a little bigger than we thought. So he immediately calls his buddy on the phone. Is like, dude, Aaron, Steve's got a teener. He's got a big fish. So they were going to leave. He actually dumped his fish back in the water, was going to take off, but because I showed him that, and he's a really really good guy, and they got everything out of the water, and they got back over to the thing, and we have to wait in line when you get out of the water. We keep the fish in the live well, and we all just keep everything running. We don't do bump tanks and all that. We just pull the trucks around, and they got it set up so we can just wait in line. The guys get the fish out of the boat, weigh them in, and then those guys take them and put them in their tanks and keep everything good. So we waited in line, 15, 20 minutes, and we finally got up there to our turn. And the tournament director knew I had a good fish, and I fished with him before, and I had a good fish, but it was 8 pounds. So he figured, 8, 10, whatever pounder. So he's like, "All right, Steve, what do you got?" And I'm sure you've seen the video, but he
Yeah.
took the fish out, and then he was kind of surprised, like, "Well, where the hell is it, Steve?" And then about that time, I'm pulling out a live well because I didn't want to put it in a bag. I didn't know exactly how to do it. I didn't know how to weigh that fish. So it kind of worked out good. And my buddy TJ was there with his video, and Aaron, they were all taking pictures and all that. And I think the video is really what made this story pop because it's just cool. Normally our derbies, we don't have stuff like that happen, but TJ knew what this fish was, and he made that happen. So just when it was all done, I don't think anybody realized what was happening or what was about to come, and even we didn't. And you heard my partner in the background, TJ. They were talking about how big it was. My partner was like, "What do you think that is? Like 13 pounds or something?" And maybe 14. And then it came up to 16 and a half, and we're just shocked. We just had no idea that thing was going to weigh that. Nobody's ever seen one, for a long time out of here like that. So
I mean, that's a world-class fish,
yeah,
right? I mean, to me, anything that is a teener
yeah,
is a world-class
yeah.
fish, you know? And, like, just to give some context here, I pulled up just other state records,
Hmm.
right? So and there's controversy when we talk about state records, old state records, right? There's all
Right,
sorts of like, okay, was the scale correct? Was there lead, because those fish were
right.
killed. What is the difference here? But you have Georgia in 1932 at 22 pounds 4 ounces.
Wow.
California, and so this is all U.S. states ranked.
Right.
California, 21 pounds 12 ounces on Castaic in 1991. Texas, Lake Fork, 18 pounds 2 ounces in 1992. Mississippi, 18 pounds 2.4 ounces in Natchez State Park Lake in 1992. Florida, 17 pounds 4 ounces,
Wow.
unnamed lake. What does
Wow.
that mean? In
Somebody's
1986.
somebody's pond in their backyard.
Right, exactly. Private lake or something. Alabama, 16 pounds,
Yeah.
8 ounces, number 6, Mountain View Lake.
Wow.
And then you have the current state record, Arizona, 16 pounds, 7 ounces out of Canyon Lake in
Mm.
1997. So, I mean, all of those are 40 plus years old at this point, right?
Wow.
As far as state records go. So
Right.
now you have this fish, which is just so special and notable to me because
Because,
you
you
know,
know,
a it's bigger than these, or sorry, bigger than the Arizona state record was, and I guess maybe let's talk a little bit about that because
Mhm.
obviously each of these state game organizations have how they want to do things from a state record perspective.
Right.
How did that conversation go? You're in a tournament, you have to release fish, you want to release this fish.
Right.
What does that look like?
Well, I mean, when we weighed the fish in, I mean, I worked hard for 4.5 hours to keep that fish alive, or 5.5 hours. I mean, I really didn't want to kill it. I mean, I don't know. It's just hard to explain. And I don't ever keep fish and eat them. I mean, we try to keep them all alive. You know, every now and then you'll have one that dies, but we try to keep them alive. You know, and I really didn't want to kill this fish. And I've had a lot of people ask me why I let it go. And you know, that Matt Shura, for example, I talked to him, I think on Monday, and he had the state record in this state before, and he's one of our local Bass Pro Shop pros, Nitro boats. I mean, he got his career, I think, from getting the state record fish when he was young. But I'm a weekend angler guy. I mean, I got it as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's not going to be official because I didn't kill it and take it to Game and Fish. I did make a call to Game and Fish and I talked to them and they, you know, they apologized. Like we needed a state biologist to look at it. It had to be weighed on a certified scale, but the scale was certified at the thing, but they needed somebody to look at it. And, it just, you know, and it wasn't worth it to me. And you know what? What if I did go weigh it and it was below the record? Then I just killed that big fish for nothing anyway, you know. And I'd really like to. I know Lake Fork. Everybody knows how they take care of their big fish, and they, you know, they breed those fish, and it makes, you know, more big fish. And you know, I that's the biggest fish I've seen in a long time, or ever actually. You know, for Arizona, as far as I'm concerned, that I've seen. Why would I kill that fish? You know, and there's another guy, Ron Kasner. He caught a fish bigger than that. You know that they wouldn't allow him to have the record either because he transported it, weighed it, and then took it back to the lake, and he didn't get the record either. So and this was out of Canyon Lake. Yeah, out
How
of
big?
I think it was maybe a pound bigger. And this was out of Canyon Lake years ago, but they didn't give him the record because he didn't do it right. He didn't want to kill the fish either. So, but that was out of Canyon Lake, and since then we've had some fish kills. I really doubt that fish is even alive anymore because of what we had going on in these lakes. But all those fish at Canyon and Saguaro, those fish were wiped out. Everything that's coming out of those now are new fish that have just been around for, you know, 10, 12 years. But like I said, I don't know, but I did talk to the tournament director last night at the tournament because it's kind of the talk of the town how this kind of sucks what happened and we don't get the record and whatnot. But they actually are going to set up some meetings with Game and Fish and get their scales certified, and they just got to figure it out. He said this because this shouldn't happen again. You know, I honestly truly believe that record will be broken out of Roosevelt. You know, in the next year or two anyway, you know. And if somebody catches a fish I already caught, you know, I don't know why that fish wouldn't be bigger. If they catch that during the spawn, I mean, it could be 2 or 3 pounds bigger, I guess. You know, they get fat around here in those spawn seasons. So, but according to him last night, they're going to get the tournament guys together, the directors, and get with Game and Fish and then figure out what to do. And if we need to have a biologist look at it, they want a number to call and say, look, we just got this fish at our tournament. We need you guys out here to certify this fish so the next guy can get the record.
Wow, that's really cool. And I commend you absolutely on the awareness and to keep that fish alive and not care. Like, I
Right.
mean, I think a lot. I am speaking for maybe diehard bass fishermen just in general, we want to see these fish continue to grow and get back into a body of water. So really appreciate that, and not
Yeah,
caring so much about the pride of carrying a record, right? I mean, that's really
yeah,
cool. Don't get me wrong.
yeah,
We want to keep these fish alive. Like that's
yeah.
our goal. Actually, right now, my partner on the podcast, Bailey, he's headed down to. This is really cool. First ever Fishery Summit in in Texas. This is put
Hmm.
on by a group. Basically, state organizations are coming this week to understand how Texas Parks and Wildlife does exactly their program
Right.
and learn about that, as well as just black bass management, largemouth, smallmouth management across the states. In our western states, I'm sure you're aware of this too. Little, maybe not as much in Arizona, but certainly in California, up here in Oregon, Washington, Colorado, Idaho. It's always a struggle because you have cold water species and protected
Hmm.
species, and so you have fisheries management, that aren't necessarily aligning with what we're after, right? The bass
Yep,
fishing,
yep.
uh, those types of things, and so it'll be interesting to kind of hear, and have there'll be a lot of information on our platform on the Serious Angler podcast about that coming out. I mean, Bailey's going to do 4 or 5 episodes while he's down there with some of the brightest minds in the fisheries biology world, in the country. So it's a neat thing. It's cool to see Arizona in this light. I mean, that's what the show is about, is highlighting these areas. Like you said, you probably are going to get some more traffic from these guys chasing trophies. I mean, saying statements like that, like this record is going to continue to get broken, like you're around some really big fish. That is spectacular. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, it's fun. You just do that lake. All these lakes are fun. Every time you set the hook, you just don't know. I mean, there's monsters coming out of these lakes, and all we can hope for is that people just release them. We get a lot of winter visitors here in the summer or in the winter time, and a lot of them older guys will go up there and just camp on that lake, and they pull out a lot of fish and eat them. It's frustrating sometimes, but it's legal, so they can do what they want. But there's still, it doesn't seem to matter how much of them are out there. There's just tons of fish in that lake. I mean, it really is. You can find schools and just, I mean, we sat there 1 hour on this hump that my buddy fished and caught that bag, and we probably sat there in a tournament last year, and they were all probably 2 pounders, but we probably caught 30 in about 15 minutes. I mean, just every cast was a fish. I mean, it was just a monster school, and I told my buddy, we were still catching. I said, we got to go. I mean, we got to go find some bigger fish. This is fun and all, but we got to go find some big fish, and they're out there. You just got to find them.
Wow. And you're spot on. I mean, realistically, like we're talking about the dead heat of the summer. This is when that fish is the small as it's going to be, right? Like, I
Right.
mean, you think about pre-spawn, you think about the winter time. I mean, when a lot of records get broken, it's that wintertime
Mhm.
pre-spawn, really heavy belly, right? Or a
Right.
fall feed up window, get late into the year. You don't think of, I mean, although I talked to some guys down in Texas that they catch some big fish late
Right.
summer when it's brutally hot out there. But they don't, but that fish, like you said, that's a 2 to 3 pound
Right.
difference during the spawn.
Right.
Like that's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah. This fish could be 20 pounds in March.
It's true. Unbelievable, man. Very,
Yeah.
very cool. Wow. And I mean, to me, it's a pretty populated zone, right? I mean, you're not far from Scottsdale. Like you're in an area where there's a lot of people, but you have these big reservoirs, these big lakes. I mean, do you feel like are they pretty pressured with bass fishing, or what do things look like?
Yeah, the Saguaro Lake, Canyon Lake. We have another lake north of town called Pleasant, and then there's another one called Bartlett. They are very, and Saguaro especially. Saguaro is pulling out some big bass, and it's tough to get out on that lake. If you got to get there pretty early, they actually close the lake down because there's so much traffic during the day. Plus, we got a lot of the wakeboard boats and those kind of guys out there, jet skis. So that makes it a little bit tough too. I mean, you're fighting the waves out there trying to fish, and I mean, I've had them guys come 20 foot from us and about throw us out of the boat. It just a lot of like I like fishing deep. Most of the stuff I do is deep, so I'm out there. I might be out in the middle of the lake on a ledge, and those guys they're mad. I'm out in the middle of the lake. They don't realize it's only 10 foot deep or 20 foot deep right there. But it is tough sometimes, especially Saguaro Canyon. Roosevelt's starting to get bad. I mean, even last year it wasn't near as crowded as it is now. Out there in the tournament last night, I mean, there's a lot of pleasure boats out there, but they're being forced to go up there because these lakes close up, you know. So, but definitely, and we've got a ton more people living here now than ever used to live, you know, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. You didn't, they never closed the lakes back then, but it is. But you know what? I think most people like in these lakes are releasing the fish and they're catching them, taking pictures, letting them go, and you know, go out and catch them again next week.
Heck yeah. No, we love to see that. Well, I'm gonna pull this fish back up. I haven't pulled it onto the screen for our YouTube viewers, but here's the photo. I mean, just an absolute giant. So walk us through. So you told a 7 pound line, robo worm. Walk us through your setup as far as your drop shot setup on catching and landing this fish.
Okay, so I'll kind of go back like 15 years ago. I was new to drop shot. I didn't know how to fish. I mean, we were going to Bass Pro Shop seminars trying to figure this stuff out, and they kept talking about drop shot works and all that, and I didn't really know what it was. So I went online and I put what's the best drop shot rod you can buy, and everybody kept comparing their rods to G Loomis. Oh, this rod's just as good as a G Loomis. I think it wasn't NRX, but a GLX. So I looked, and everybody kept saying as good as the GLX. I'm like, you know what? If they're comparing it to that, I'm going to buy that. So um, I bought that rod. I bought the G Loomis GLX, and I don't know, maybe 6 7 years ago, I broke it. It slid underneath my eye, and I pulled up, and so I called up G Loomis, and they said, you know, that's all right, $100, and we'll get you a new rod. So they sent me this G Loomis NRX Plus, and it's an 822S drop shot rod. I think the model number I wrote it down was a KR19801, and just 6'10", and it's a little light. And my buddy bought one; he didn't care for it. I actually bought it from him, another one. So I got two, but and I just put different weights on them. But this one just happened to be that rod with, and I like light stuff. It was about a Lew's CLSS 200, 6.2 to 1 ratio, and then in one of the seminars we went to, one of the guys that came on was talking about Kevin Finley, and he likes drop shotting and all that. And he mentioned this Super Sniper FC sniper line, and he talked how good it was. So I went and bought some, and I liked it, and I've been using that ever since. But it's a 7 pound sniper line, and I've been using it for years. I buy the 800-yard spools or whatever, and just keep it in the boat. And because I retie a lot, so I'll you know, just keep it on there and spool it up, and I just, you know, use the Alberto knot, and it seems to work well for me. So just, you know, I don't break at the knot very much, and but that's what I did. And then I ended up using I normally use Gamakatsu hooks, but I went down there and they were out, so I ended up buying, believe it or not, some Eagle Claw, just some thin wire 1/0 extra wide gap. I like the extra wide gap. I never did the nose hook. I was losing too many fish, especially the bigger fish. So I went with just a 1/0 extra wide gap, and then the 6 inch straight tail morning dawn hologram. Um, they're hard to get around here. You almost can't go to the tackle shop and buy them. They never have them. So I always get on Tackle Warehouse and order them up. But I think they're probably out now. From what I understand, there's a big sale on RoboWorm right now. But yeah, you know, and the funny thing is, everybody I talk to, they just can't believe it. We have a local tackle shop called Liar's Corner, and they're only about 10 minutes away from me, and real good people, real nice people, and they never have this worm in there, but they really don't have it now. But just about everything, anything close to that color, they were out of. But uh, they were all excited to talk to me and see me, and, you know, see that fish in there. But I don't know, that hologram, and the kids were in there like, man, did you really catch that on that drop shot worm? And I said, dude, everybody I've talked to, even Matt, he's like, did you really catch it on that worm? And I'm like, dude, I have. I'm not. There's no reason for me to not tell the truth, you know.
Right.
And I just, it is what it is. That's what I caught it on, you know. And there's a lot of guys, you know, that I've seen in the past, and they call it a fairy wand or whatever, you know. But you know, you look at Aaron Martins and a lot of them guys on you know, Elite Series and all that. Clifford Purge, he's our local Payson Elite Series angler, and he's actually who I bought my boat from. I bought this boat from him in 2020,
I
and
saw the Suzuki. I was wondering that.
yeah, yeah, he sells his boat to somebody every year, and I got one, and man, it's been a wonderful boat, a wonderful motor. It gets you there. The live wells are wonderful. I mean, that thing kept that fish alive the whole time. But you know, he fishes drop shot a lot, and the lakes here, man, you can catch those things all year round on that drop shot. It just works, and you know, we've caught some big fish on that bait, and you know, it might be hard to get you 5 big ones in a tournament on that, but sometimes you only need one big one and four average ones, you know. So, but it turned out to be a good tournament. We didn't even win the tournament. That's a funny thing. We got beat by a kid and his dad.
No way.
Yeah, we weighed in 26 and change, and they weighed in 27 and change. But those two, that kid and his dad, they the night tournament before that my buddy fished, my buddy had 29 pounds. This kid and his dad came in with 31 pounds. So they won that tournament too. They're pretty big sticks on that lake as well.
What are their names?
You know what? I didn't even write it down. You'd probably have to check the tournament thing. They Leland is named. Last name is Leland. But
Okay.
but no, they're good sticks. And this kid will be going to college. He's going to go to college and he's going to fish for a living. I have no doubt. But him and his dad just they tear it up out there. So they put in the
Wow.
effort.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Well, thanks for walking us through your setup there.
yeah,
I yeah, the the fairy wand comment, like, man, I have made more money tournament fishing probably with a drop shot than almost anything else, right?
right.
This season alone
Wow,
has been a big year of drop shotting for me. It just is so effective. It
right,
gets bites, it gets
right,
big bites, it gets small bites, it just gets bit, right? So like I think as a lot of Western anglers, I relate to I either am throwing really finesse, really light drop shot stuff, or I'm throwing big, heavy, crazy
right,
stuff, right? So like, those
right,
are the kind of the two. There's no middle ground for me.
right.
But I'm a big fan of the drop shot. It's a good way to get bit, and clearly, for anyone out there looking to maybe have a chance at the next state record, it just
Yeah,
happened on
yeah.
in Arizona with
Yeah,
it.
it catches them, and it's funny because there's a lot of online remarks and comments and all that, and people are like, that's a good worm, but I like this worm better. And I get on there, I disagree. They start laughing, yeah, you might be right, you got me there, but no, that I don't know, I like it, and it's fun too because it's if you see a fish, you can make that cast and be on that fish quick. I mean, a lot of baits, it's hard to get down there that deep, and man, this you put a heavier weight. I'll be throwing a 3/8 ounce weight pretty quick when the fish go even deeper, and man, you can just get that down to them fast. And it's just sometimes you get it in front of their face and they'll eat it. So
Totally agree. No, it's so effective with forward facing sonar. You
yeah,
can drop it right on their head.
yeah,
Um, and I totally do the same thing. I just go up and wait. If it's a windy day, I want to
oh
be able
yeah,
to hit them in 30, 40 feet of water.
right,
Give me a 3/8, maybe even up to a half, and
yeah,
you can get them.
yeah,
So,
sure.
and one more time. So it was hologram Shad, or did you say it was hologram?
Morning
Uh,
morning dawn hologram.
all morning dawn
Yeah,
hologram.
I know
Okay,
they were kind of
got it.
hoping. I think Roboworm was hoping it was a new one they came out with, but I hadn't even seen it yet. I don't, I bought so much of this hologram Dawn, Morning Dawn, that I could probably fish for a couple years on these what I've already got. I've got so much tackle I don't use that it just I'm like, man, I need to quit buying stuff I'm not going to use. But I do have a ton of RoboWorm stuff, and I probably will go buy some of those and try them out because I think they're pretty good. Ty Al was asking me, hey man, did you catch it on that? I told him a hologram, and he was all excited. The new one they just came out with. I'm like, no, sorry, man, it was the Morning Dawn. But this Morning Dawn, even without the hologram, that's been real popular in Arizona for a long time, and I found I get a few more bites on the hologram, so that's why I went.
Interesting. Is that Sharp's tail, or what? Why do you
It's a
think that
shark.
is?
No, because the Morning Dawn, I've always used the one with the chartreuse trail, but the hologram has the sparkles in it, and we've got a lot of clear water here, and I don't know if they just see it a little better with the sparkles. I'm not sure, but I do know that when I use that worm over just the regular Morning Dawn, I don't even buy the regular Morning Dawn. It's not hologram anymore, but with this bait, I just caught more fish, and maybe I just got better. I don't know, but I catch more fish on this worm than any other drop shot worm that I've used. So, and I mean, if you
Wow.
go to the seminars, and listen to the fishing guides, Matt Shera, Gary Samp, Johnny Johnson, they all do the seminars up there, and they all swear by these, the drop shot worms and the morning dawn. The guides, they put them people on the morning dawn worm, and they just work in this state for some reason.
They work all over, man.
Do they?
They don't just work in that state.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm a big fan
yeah,
of a morning. It's just it's effective, right? I don't know
yeah,
why, but
yeah,
I'm the same way. I've got boxes and
yeah,
boxes and boxes of robo worms.
yeah,
They're so effective.
yeah,
But I don't use the hologram stuff too much, so that's a note for me that I'm gonna mark down for sure.
yeah,
And folks, if anyone's interested in what we're talking about here, it's of course going to be in the description on the show notes. as far as products and those types of things. But Steve, any last words? Anything else you want to say or about this fish and about the experience with catching something like this?
You know, like I said, it might have been different had we really known how big it was. My partner, the funny thing is, my partner, Mike Selvage, in the boat, I mean, we put that fish in the live well, and within about 30 minutes, he's like, dude, you're going to be famous. I'm like, what are you talking about? I said, it's not even, he's like, dude, you're going to be famous. He's referencing movies and all that. And I'm like, he's like, you're going to be famous. I'm like, you're stupid. I said, that fish, it's a nice fish. Don't get me wrong, but I have no idea what the hell you're talking. I kept telling him, you're stupid. You're stupid. And he was right. I mean, again, I didn't know it was 16.5 pound fish, but I don't know. It's been fun. A few negative comments, people saying, you can't hold a fish like that, and a lot of people, I don't say a lot of people, but a few people I think just don't realize, that the fish wasn't harmed, that the fish was let go. We babied that fish as soon as we weighed it, put it in the bump tank. I don't know if you've seen the picture of it sitting there in the bump tank, kind of floating on its side, but I fizzed it a few times, but I didn't want to keep pulling out of the live well because it didn't fit in there very good. So I just kept checking on it, and that once they weighed it in, they fizzed it down and got it to where it would swim. But what was in the bump tank, it was floating on the side. And there's been some people comment, oh, there's weights in that fish, there's rocks in that fish. But I know when we have a fish, on the side like that on the live well, we put a couple ounces of weight on the fins and it drops right to the bottom. And it's frustrating to me to hear those people out there that don't know me. I'm the most honest guy, fisherman you'll ever know. You ask anybody out here that knows me, all the tournament guys. I mean, nobody believes that, but there was a few people out there commenting that, and that bugged me. I actually quit getting online about Wednesday. I just didn't want to hear it anymore. And but it was a good time, a fun fish. We took it down. Me and Mike Selvage. We took it back down to the lake, and there was a dozen people down there watching, taking pictures. And he walked out to the water. Kind of got it going back again to life, and it didn't take long because, like I said, that fish wasn't done when we caught it. We did not wear it out. It just came to jump, and we were there. But that fish, within about a minute, that fish kind of just swam off. It swam down the shore and then just took a left and head out to deep water. But there's a dozen people down there that saw it, and I hate not the fact that we didn't take a video of that fish doing that. Just to show people that fish is still alive. But it 100% is out there swimming in that lake.
That's great, man. Yeah, there's always going to be haters, right? Like the online side of the fishing world is
Yeah,
horrible, and
yeah,
I'm very thankful that we try with Serious Angler Podcast to really stay out of the drama in its entirety because it's there, and
yeah,
there's everyone's your
yeah.
keyword words. I'm not a this is nothing in comparison, but I caught my personal best this year in a tournament in California on Don Pedro. I caught a 10 pounders, a 10.02,
Wow.
and I held the fish by its jaw, and then also doing the whole two hands thing, but the same deal, right? Like I had this video kind of went not nearly as viral as this, but it had a 20 or 30,000 views of me weighing the fish in the tournament, and I got all sorts of comments about like, I don't like the way you handled that fish and all these sorts of things, and it's just like, man, the fish jaw never broke. I promise you that. It swam
Yeah,
away. It did
yeah.
everything right. I did all that I could. Yes, it's hard to hold a big fish like that. Like
Oh,
it's
dude,
not.
you're talking with two
This
hands.
isn't a four.
I,
Yeah,
Yeah, that thing was heavy. I used two hands and with a monster grip. I've got mechanics hands. I was afraid that fish was gonna flop and I was gonna drop it. So, dude, I held on to that thing with everything I had to keep that fish from hitting the ground. And I
yeah,
wasn't gonna let it go. I know it don't hurt the fish to do that. People are, but you watch them guys on the Elite Series and they pull them fish out of the water. How are they supposed to get the fish out of the water if you can't grab them by the jaw? It just I don't know. They scoop them up and all that, but it didn't hurt the fish. That fish's jaw was, man, is as thick as my thumb. That thing was just massive. You'd have to try to break that fish. And I think what they're talking about when they say you can break the fish's jaw is when those guys try to hold him sideways with their jaw. And I know what they're talking
right.
about, but like that, they're trying to hold the fish out sideways with the jaw like that. And I could see that breaking the jaw, but that is not what was happening. And the angler guys, we don't do that. Those are the idiot guys you've never caught a fish and they think they're cool. But man, the hate was a little frustrating for me. I'm the guy that doesn't like publicity and doesn't like that. I mean, I don't know, but I'm just glad. But I promise everybody out there that fish is swimming around in Roosevelt Lake unharmed. So
That's awesome.
and with no
That's
lead in
awesome, man.
it.
Well, not being the media guy, no lead. That's good. I
Yeah.
appreciate you taking the time out, Steve, and going on a whim here and coming out on the podcast. Really cool too that we're that you spent some time in Colorado. That's where I'm
Yeah,
from.
that's cool.
Familiar fish.
I've never heard
Yeah.
anybody that fished
So,
from Pueblo before.
uh-huh, uh-huh. Well, if I ever make it down your way, I would love to connect with you,
Okay.
and would love to meet up in person sometime. But I really
Sounds good.
appreciate your time and thanks for giving us the breakdown of the story.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. You have a good one.
So to the Mr. Steve Jenkins, just really broke it down for us, all the details with that fish. I really appreciated how well he took care of that fish. You know, these really big fish. There's so much hate on the internet when things, tournaments, etc., hurting fish, all this stuff. No one wants that, right? I mean, 99% of the people doing this are wanting the resource to continue. They're conservationists, and I find that to be true in all facets. Hunters, anglers, we want these things to continue, and take care of the resource that we're utilizing. So, um, commend him a lot for that, not getting too brash and wanting the record and killing a fish like this. I mean, that fish took a really long time to get that big. It's a very special fish genetically, and it could legitimately go weigh 20 pounds, this spring. So, um, I mean, gosh, like I think you're going to see maybe a push of some of these YouTubers and these guys that try and chase these record fish. Why would they not go spend a week or two down there during the prime time? I mean, you might catch a world record or certainly a state record, right? So, really cool to see that whole experience. Steve just seems like a really humble guy. Cool to see these from Colorado, like myself. You don't see that very often. And Arizona, man, I there's a couple places in this world that I really like, and Arizona is one of them for sure, especially in the wintertime. So, make a trip. Cool to see a West Coast kind of fishery not really being talked about as often or as popular, and it might get a little popular from this, but that's okay. Seems like they're doing a really good job protecting that resource down there, and we'll continue to see it grow.